Matthew and Lee Tree Anna Brown have something you've been waiting for. You asked for it. Now, you got it. Haunted objects. Possessions that won't die. The chilling new book that dares.
Hi, Lily.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Thomas.
What is happening?
Dude,
Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
I know, sorry. Yeah, sorry we missed everybody last week.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's my fault. You know, when you run a huge Paracon, a lot of people want you to come on their podcast. So I had like 3 podcasts last Monday.
Oh, wow.
Just to advertise for Paracon, and which is coming up this weekend's coming up.
This weekend.
July 12th and 13th.
All right, I'm
You guys will be up there. We're gonna try and beam Blaine up there, Star Trek style, and get his ugly mug up on the TV there.
You'll be on the kiss cam.
Yeah, gotta have Leg of Joe. So. I think I upset him.
I don't know. I don't think so. He froze.
He froze, popped out. So
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a couple. Anybody watching? There's a couple tickets left for the after Paracon Saturday night. With John Zaffis, go something with John Zaffis. Get to eat dinner with Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster, and get to ghost hunt with us, John, myself, Charles, Lee, and Stacia Wills. So we're gonna have a good time, and it's gonna be a hell of a weekend. Very exciting, and I hope you guys could all make it out. There's still some room for you.
There you are.
Yep.
I had to go out. I was echoing too bad.
Oh, okay.
So is everybody.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know.
We all
I
are.
think it's the Leg of Joe interference.
It's the Lego joke curse. I know.
Yeah.
Hey.
There we go. Who are we talking about tonight?
Tonight we are talking about the infamous Jim Jones and Jonestown.
Wow. This guy was quite a character. Anytime you talk about a cult leader, I kind of intertwine cult leaders almost with the same psychology as a serial killer too.
Pretty much. They the same wavelength.
Yeah, exactly. But did you ever look at this guy's childhood?
No.
I mean, his childhood was crazy. You know, his dad was a World War I vet. He suffered some lung damage during World War I for all the gas attacks and all that, and never really recovered. PTSD. He would hang out at the billiard parlor all the time, and working on and off. So they're living off of whatever they could find in the woods, foraging. And the mother was trying to work, but a lot of people said she was very didn't have that maternal instinct, and Jim was left really to raise himself. The people in the neighborhood would say he'd be out walking around butt naked. They would have to clothe him, feed him, and other things. When he was in school, he would garner this part where he became very religious, and he was obsessed with death. He would actually kill animals or find roadkill and perform funerals for them. So some of his friends saw him stab a cat to death just so he could run a funeral for it. He used to talk some of the kids into coming with him to a casket company and get them to lay down in the casket and close their eyes and say, this is what it feels like to be dead. He was obsessed with it growing up. And, to the point where you start developing that, everybody thinks you're weird. You don't really have a lot of friends. Your family's neglected you. That same thing we hear all the time with serial killers or any kind of murder, mass murder. Developing that narcissistic disorder and that antisocial disorder. He had both.
Boy,
he had both. And when he was born, his mother saw a vision from her mother who had passed that her son was going to be, a famous religious leader. So she really kind of pushed that in a way or made him believe that. And, it started causing that, well, I'm going to be something, grandeur and all that. And him getting involved in religion, even though his family really didn't go to church at all or had anything to do
I
with
was wondering.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to drop off and come back on. I can't stand that though, Miles.
Yeah. Yeah. But he was very, got into Pentecostalism and all that. So that's how he started off, that really orating and all, and learning his place. But this kid, he would pull jokes on people. He would shoot his friends with BB guns and all that. And a lot of kids his age, stopped hanging out with him. One of his friends he was hanging out with, he didn't want to hang out with him anymore, so he wanted to go home, and he was so upset, he pulled a real gun out and shot at him and went off a tree, and all this little bark chipped off and hit him. But yeah, he had these tendencies. He said by the time he was 10, he said he was ready to kill. Somebody heard him saying. So he messed up from day one, with that type of upbringing in Indiana where he was born and raised in that area of the country.
Interesting.
But that's his childhood. So,
wow.
And it messed up.
Did he have any formal training in religion, as being like a seminary or anything?
Yes.
No, he went to a lot of different churches, got involved, and the ministers there would instruct him, teach him, and he mentors
he
to
went
him.
to
But he did have a college degree. Yeah.
Princeton Theological Seminary.
Yeah. So he did have that background, but a lot of it more was mentorship towards what he wanted to do. There was this one Father Divine, African-American gentleman and all that really influenced him in his ways and how he was going to bring about the People's Temple and what his cult backing would be. But, you really look at this guy, with having that type of personality, one of the big things was when he was growing up, he was obsessed with reading books about Hitler and Stalin and Marx and all those, Mao Zedong and all the Russian leaders. He became obsessed with. Yeah,
all the commie bastards.
Yeah, he became obsessed with it. But you really look at it. You look at Hitler. And how he brought all these people in and brainwashed them to be Nazis and stuff like that and do bad things. On a smaller level with Jim Jones, really that's his upbringing, the type of stuff he read, the non-intervention with that, and some of these religious leaders that pumped him up to the point that he felt like, that narcissistic, I'm just going to take over the world. I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
But one of his big things is he always looked for that middle class people that, they had that emptiness. He would grab onto them. He really grabbed onto the African American people and all that and what they were going through. He'd see their plight. But sometimes, you really look at a guy like that, you're narcissistic, you don't really care. I think he was using that to build his church, to build himself in political areas and get people to see him on that grandeur. He took, and it's almost like I think he really pretended to care so he could garner that side of things. So he could have that back and forth just with his behavior. It's quite a case study, Jim Jones and looking at it. You could really go down the rabbit hole with this guy. And,
big time.
Crazy dude, really in and out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what people do. I want to go back when I was in high school. We used to do this study in public speaking class where you'd go up and you don't tell who wrote the speech. So you go up and pretend we're going to vote for somebody, and you just say this speech that's, an obscure speech that a lot of people don't know about. So you go to the speech and all that. And at the end of it, you vote whose speech was the best, that said the most to you. And later on, they vote and all that, and it ended up being a speech by Hitler. But the other speeches, one was by Lincoln, one was by Washington, and I forget what the other one was. But it goes to show you that manipulation, saying the right things that people want to hear, in a mass type of audience of people that are in need, and you give them that need, and then you start chipping away at it, that's a cult leader.
Oh, yeah.
That charisma that, Hitler had, or Jim Jones had.
Yeah, when you think about it, he did a lot of things that Charlie Manson did, except for the heavy drug use. And we don't know, he might have did that too.
Well, Jim Jones was like, when he was really at his peak, when he had over 3,000 people in the People's Temple, he really started getting paranoid. His wife was saying he was getting paranoid. But the big thing is he started taking drugs at that time. He was really into drugs. I mean, really bad. There was a lot of manipulation. There was people starting to say that, there was abuse. There was neglect. There was sexual, whatever. And the government he felt like was starting to push down on him. And that's really what led him. They led from Indiana to San Francisco, where a lot of it grew. And then to get away from the government, he really was like into wanting to have the Soviets back him. He really wanted to bring him to Russia. So, he ended up in Guyana with the whole crew. They brought everybody over there. It wasn't all 3,000 members. I think it was like close to 900 or something like that went with him over to Guyana. And they were over there, just kind of a commune style, which was influenced by, again, the Father Divine I told you about, influenced to run a commune type style religious, and it was really that apostolistic, socialism is what he called it. So that wanting to be that, that Soviet style at the time. So against the government, that fight against the government, that politics and other religions that didn't mean anything, to the point he said, throw away the Bible. That's just the sky god. And he started to have grandeur that he was God.
Yes.
You believe that I'm the God and all that. And that's really where the paranoia started coming in, and things started getting worse. And he didn't want the government to come down on him. So he took the crew and escaped down the Guyana away from it all.
Yep.
So I had looked up the type of drugs that he did. And he used meth, and that is increasing his alertness and paranoia. And that's how he would stay awake for long speeches and stay in control. In Guyana, he would broadcast all of his speeches that would last 12 and 15 hours.
Yeah.
And then he would take barbiturates to relax, to sedate himself, to be calm. But of course, that would discourage judgment. And then he used LSD.
Yeah.
And tranquilizers.
Yeah, he was on a lot of
And,
stuff, and this guy had stuff planned in advance.
Yeah, that's why he wore sunglasses.
Yeah, he had a lot of stuff. This stuff planned in advance. He really wanted to go from Guyana. He wanted, to get into the Soviet Union. That was a big thing. He kept on it. But he was preparing his people. They would do like practice suicide runs. Nobody thought, well, this is never going to happen. We'll just do what he says. The mind control and getting people to do what you want and indoctrinating them. It is when people have that need, and then you're fed that need, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, it's just like a narcissistic person in a relationship. You're married to one, and you don't feel like you can leave. You feel like you're imprisoned. And they tell you after they beat you that, oh, I won't do it again. That kind of thing, just on a bigger level with 900 people in the middle of nowhere, Brazil, Guyana, whatever, that South America. So, yeah, nobody could really escape at that point.
No, where were they going to go? In the jungle?
The what?
Where were they going to go? To the jungle and get eaten by all the critters out there?
Yeah, he created a natural prison for them. Anybody that wanted to leave, So yeah.
He also fed them some drugs.
Yeah.
That it affected their personal judgment.
Yeah.
And increased their dependence.
Yeah, that's right. He was later on. They found out that he was bringing in like drugs by the pound, like a lot, and putting them in food and all that to keep control of the community. They were getting drugged and didn't even know it. That type of control, mind control, or anything that he learned, and it really came from, you really look at who his idols were. They were all about mind control and getting people to do what they want and saying our society should be like this and everybody else is wrong, and get them to believe that. So it happens all the time, especially when you're empty and you're looking for answers. You get the answers from the wrong person, and then the next thing you know, you're imprisoned by that narcissist and whatever. So,
well, you got to think too. He used psychology so well on them.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell somebody long enough they're stupid, they'll believe they're stupid. You tell them they're smart, they'll believe they're smart. If you keep pounding in their head every day, all the time, they're believing that shit. That's how they got brainwashed.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is a psychological thing to do to people to garner control. Is called a break and build method.
Mm-hmm.
A break and build method is you build them up, you make them feel good, and then you break them down little by little. It's like, the 1 step forward, 2 steps back for control.
Mm-hmm.
It happens in our society a lot, different things, and we have to be aware of it. We have to discern what we're dealing with. We have to be, stronger with ourselves and be comfortable with who we are to avoid that. That's probably the lesson in this podcast this week. Be careful of who you trust. If you're feeling empty going into something, just be wary of that. Just kind of ground yourself. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. And, it's important. Get other people's opinions that you really care about and trust. If they say it doesn't sound good, then take their advice.
Hey, Lee, who's playing with your curtain behind you?
The air.
It's the air vent.
Okay, I was making sure because that thing was like going crazy.
It goes to Jim Jones.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't have any Kool-Aid.
He's feeling all puffy chest and popular again that we're talking about.
So I was I'm looking at the signs of a cult leader.
Yeah.
I think that's that we need to know. So here's the first one. Charismatic and persuasive. And so that's every politician we know. Just saying. The next one is
Lee, have you got your phone on? Okay.
demands absolute loyalty. All right, so the next one. This one is scary to me.
Yeah.
All of them are
scary. Yeah.
Isolation from outside agents. It means that they are not going to be wrong.
Yeah, you're talking isolation to the point you moved them all to Guyana in the middle of nowhere. But outside influence, they take away any contact with family or anybody that could influence them to leave. So,
every piece of mail that was sent just went through.
Yeah.
It was censored very much. And no communication letters went out of Guyana while they were there.
Well, this is a big one. Us versus them mentality. What I was talking about. You know, throw away the Bible. That's the whatever. The government's against us. Other religions are against us. You know, we're who we are. Let's put them aside. And that's the us versus them. You know, it personifies that cult. I think a lot of people study the Jim Jones cult. But you're talking about the 60s and the 70s. There was a lot of cults during that time, the 60s and that era and all that. People looking for answers during a wartime. And a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of drugs going on at the time. There's still a lot of drugs going on, but it's that counterculture, I think, got people to look at things differently. It isn't just, I'm going to go to Catholic church. Hey, there's other opportunities for me to look at. And that, exploit the followers. It's definitely what it is.
The followers.
Yeah. You know, the sexual abuse and all that, getting them trapped.
Yeah.
It's narcissism 101 in a grand level.
You look up narcissism in the dictionary, it's got Jim Jones's picture because that was a narcissist out of narcissist.
Yeah, you know, he didn't care. He had no empathy either. He still had the antisocial behavior too. A rare case of having both. You know, they kind of are side by side, but there are some differences between antisocial disorder and narcissism. Either way you look at it, there's that grandeur and then there's that non-empathy.
Yeah.
He just did what he had to do to get people to like him because he grew up with nobody giving a crap about him. Yeah. Nobody was around. And now he could get all these people to care about him, fulfilling that need he had since childhood of being abandoned. Now I got all these people. Now I have control when I didn't have control growing up. That's what it leads to.
He has over control now.
Yeah. It gets bad. You know, we talk about it before. We all grow up similar. A lot of people have the traumas. And again, you could go either way. You could overcome it, or it could turn into something like this, or serial killer, whatever, mass murder like Jim Jones. So, yeah.
Yep. And this go ahead, Lou.
Here's the next one. And we've already talked about it, though. Messianic status.
Yeah, he definitely claimed divine message. You can actually go on YouTube and find some of his recorded speeches or sermons that he did, and listen to him like, this dude's freaking nuts.
Well, they have the recording when everything was going down in Jonestown, that final night of him talking through and telling them what to do, and him going over and over again, guarding that control all the way till the end. And yeah, it's so eerie to be able to know what's about to happen, and him talking the people through it and knowing what's going on. Unbelievable. So
yeah.
And I know we'll get into that day pretty soon. Crazy things. Just getting the mindset now as we build up to the anticlimactic ending of this, like the sinking of the Titanic, for crying out loud. It's history at you know, the craziness, just what we talk about, serial killers, supernatural murders. You know, that supernatural side of it is him growing up thinking his mom having that supernatural experience to think my son's going to be this great, you know, person. and you go with it. You know, a lot of people could say, you know, even Hitler, God forbid, he was on the cover of Time magazine as being a great person. You know, nobody knows at the time. You know, you could fool people for a little while, but in the end, you can't. You know, you are what you are. You know, you could pretend, but sooner or later, it's going to catch up to you. It always does. The universe has a plan for you. It'll catch up to you. Whatever you put out there.
What I find interesting about Jim Jones is that there were people cured of cancer, blindness, paralysis, tumors, people that were crippled actually walked, whether it was staged or they were hypnotized.
Yeah.
But what in the world?
It was staged.
No, big time.
What they're finding out, some of the members after the passing that weren't part of it did admit that a lot of it was staged. Some of the people that were in the inner circle that survived, it was staged because it's garnering more and more people to come in, more and more people to trust. People in need, I have cancer, I'm in need, or they have the feeling, and it's just the hope. He created false hope to get them in there, because what they were doing is he'd cure somebody from cancer, but this person never had cancer. They sucked down a chicken gizzard and spit it out after to make it look like it was the cancer was coming up. The people that were in wheelchairs weren't really crippled. They're just pretending, just to get that control. The power trick.
So he bring the hen before Benny Hinn did.
Yeah.
Or Ernest T. Angus, you shall be healed.
Yeah,
That's the thing is as healers, a lot of us are healers ourselves. You know, unfortunately, unless it's something spiritual, if it's physically something wrong with you, you got to get somebody into the right mindset. You got to help them work through a trauma, and sometimes that's healthier for them. You know, it is true that if you could create somebody to change their mind frame, a lot of them could come out of a lot of psychological issues or cure themselves from certain things, because we have to align our spiritual, our mental, and our physical. But if somebody has cancer, I don't think anybody's that magical that would be able to cure it. You could do it yourself. You know, you have the mentality to know this isn't going to get me, and you create that positivity into the universe, into yourself, you have a better shot at it. You know, is it instantaneous? No, you battle through it. You make that commitment to yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically, and you have a better chance. You know, is it perfect? No. But I think if you say it's just going to get me, I give up, yeah, it probably is going to get you. You know, that's with anything, unfortunately. But that's our frame of mind. You could overcome a lot if you align yourself properly. And as shaman and all that, you guys know, if we align everything properly, then it becomes something magical. We're aware of what's going on around us. We're aware of what's going around people, what's circling around them, how to put them on the right path, how to heal on that side of things, how to heal the ancestral line, that trauma that keeps happening. You know, that's what we do. But some people, like a Jim Jones, you know, exploits that in people for the wrong reasons. And that's why you get cult leaders like that, for the wrong reasons. When you have the wrong intent, it may work for a little while, but again, like I said, the universe is going to spank you after a little while for doing the wrong reasons and the wrong intention.
So I was looking at some of the supernatural things to do with this guy. Let me just do these last two. Paranoia, persecution complex, which you covered. And then the last one, no accountability.
True that.
Anything was his fault.
That's narcissism.
One of the articles that I read about this said that they believe that Jones may have tapped into lower spiritual energies or dark entities through his rituals. There were so many he would do at night.
Yeah.
Where he would test his subject loyalty.
Yeah.
And they said that he may have created a psychic vortex and that haunted that attention. Where it can't.
Again, yeah, that's the thing is even supernaturally, again, we all know, if you could get enough people to believe in something and put their energy into it, you create that egregore or that moment. It is possible to do. You know, in that situation, it's another aspect of the supernatural side, especially like cult leaders like that, be able to garner that control. What was the other thing when he was growing up? It was like his being very religious, but again, very just not a good person. And he would take offense to stuff to the point where I think there was an incident at one of the churches, you know, with the holy water and all that. He peed in it.
Good.
Yeah. You know, he would just do these things just because it was a control thing, even at a young age. You know, he would do these little pranks, you know, because
Holy water, the holy pee.
Yeah, holy pee. Hashtag holy pee.
God dang. Yeah, that guy.
I hope nobody actually saw him do that. Because I'm thinking to do that in church, he would have got whooped up on that church right there.
Yeah. Would you like to bless yourself with holy pee?
No.
Jeez. I don't. Yeah. What goes through the mind? But again,
No.
working in the field that I've worked in and all that, and some of these people, prisoners that I worked with, the mind frame and all that, it's just nuts. It's like, how do these people function in society? You know,
I don't know.
I guess we all consider ourselves normal in a way as we're talking on here, but other people probably think we're crazy. But yeah, you know, hence my nickname, the Glorious Weirdo. Everybody thinks I'm weird, but you know, in our field that we're in, I guess you guys would hopefully consider me normal, but people on the outside,
I think I'm so glad you're not normal.
Yeah,
I can't stand boring.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Well, it takes a weirdo to recognize a weirdo, I guess. So
yes, it does.
Yeah, but the thing is I'm in a positive frame of mind. I'm in a positive point in my life. And
yes, you are.
That's the difference. You could grow up with trauma, and again, you could go either way. And I decided to go the right way. You know, I can't do what I do without being through a lot of trauma to be able to help other people with trauma, because I've been through it. We all have, you know. But then again, people like Jim Jones, that's the thing is, you went the wrong way, buddy. You created a mess.
Yeah.
Because you made the wrong decisions. You didn't follow your path properly. You know, when you don't follow your path properly, you don't listen to what's your spirit guides are telling you, or what, you know, the coincidence that might happen, where people are pushing you, and you decide because you're too narcissistic and you think you could do it all on your own, and this is what it leads to. So
well, his whole thing was his manifesto of what he thought religion should be.
Yeah.
Well, he took it from everywhere.
Yeah, he did.
He created a religious socialist society.
Yeah.
He even took some things from Eastern religions.
Yeah. After a while, he totally took away all the religious aspects he had, and then went on his own path.
Yeah.
Because if he wanted to be in Russia so bad at the time, they didn't allow religion.
Yeah.
You were straight up socialist communist.
Yeah. Yep. But he became obsessed with it, you know, even to the point when everything went down, he wanted to make sure that if basically anything ever happened to him, that all the money that was part of this People's Temple would go to that socialist Russian society. You know, and at the point at the end of it, I think it was $7.8 million, which nowadays would be 38 million or something like that. If I'm not mistaken.
30 or 40 million right now.
And he gave it, you know, he gave it to what we consider the enemy, but you know, we can't control what people, you know, think of in their lives and what they want to do. Everybody has the freedom to worship whatever they want to do. But yeah, we look at things like that. But when it comes down to abuse, sexual abuse, you know, feeding people drugs against their will or making them do things against their will, then that's a problem. You know,
that's one of the reasons that they
practice religion every way you want. But
yeah, Well, that's one of the reasons the senator and his entourage flew to Guyana
Yeah.
to do a welfare check on the people there, because some of the families were concerned because they had not heard from them.
Yeah.
And he let them walk around and do what they wanted to until somebody walked away from the congregation and told them stuff that was going on, like the sexual abuse and the drug usage.
Yeah.
And they were going to report it as soon as they flew back to the States. Yeah. And he sent his henchmen out there and killed them all right there by the plane.
Yeah, that's Leo Ryan was the U.S. Congressman from California.
Yeah.
Because most of the people that were part of the People's Temple were really gathered in San Francisco before they left for Guyana. But yeah, he was killed. I think one of the women representatives survived and kind of moved up the ladder. But there was camera people from. I don't know why this guy brought camera people.
Because they're politicians. They got to get that photo.
Yeah, and that again, I look at that. That's another stupid thing. If you care about these people, why do you want it to be on the news? Are you trying to put yourself? That's another bullshit thing for somebody to do. If you really care about these people as a politician, you'll do it under the radar. You want to make it a news story, you're an asshole too. I'm sorry that you were killed. You shouldn't have been killed, but you're an asshole. So, and I hate to tell you that ain't getting you anywhere. It won't get you anywhere in my book. I'd never vote for you because I think you're an asshole. So, and I don't like that. Doesn't matter what your policies are. Don't do stuff like that. Don't use the media to make yourself look better. You should do things because you love your constituents, and you care about them. But none of these politicians are ever going to do that. They're just like Tim Jones, a lot of them. There's probably a lot of good ones, but those are the ones that never rise to power, because I really think the people that are really high up, you didn't get there without stepping on some toes. So,
he stepped on a lot of toes.
So, yeah, that's my opinion.
Well,
I'll go off my soapbox now.
He started out by saying, "Oh, hey, come and let's do this peaceful ceremony. We'll just do something real peaceful." And then some of his cult following started slipping people notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, help me get out of here. Help me get out of here.
Yes.
Yep.
Let me leave with you. And that's all the shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
Well, he did. Jim Jones did tell. He says, "Okay, anybody that wants to leave, you're free to leave." But that was a ruse.
That was a test. That was a test. Okay. Who am I taking out? It's basically okay. Who am I taking out a different way, as opposed to the way I'm planning? One of his henchmen or one of his inner circles, name was Larry Layton. He's the one that shot up the airfield and probably took out, Leo Ryan, the U.S. congressman, and a bunch of other people, news people, whatever. He was the only one prosecuted over all this. He was the only survivor that actually did something that was somebody could prosecute. So that was a big thing.
And I'm sure he uses as a offense that he was brainwashed and he was following orders and all that other bullshit.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'd have to check. It's the one thing I didn't really jump down the rabbit hole too far with, but I did think he got life in prison. So if I'm not mistaken.
So he basically leaves one prison to go to another prison with bars. Okay.
Yeah. So he still killed a bunch of people. It's still murder. You're still going to go away for life. Yeah.
You know that Leo Ryan was the first congressman to be killed in the line of duty.
Yes. Yeah, first one ever.
I really think, he went down there for political reasons.
That's all.
Himself look like I'm going to go help these people when he was more trying to help himself. And I don't think he thought it through. He didn't realize how dangerous going into the hornet's nest that this was created because of it. He should have known the paranoia of this guy. You move a whole congregation to the middle of nowhere. That's paranoia.
Big time.
His people should have told him not to go. Should have done it in a different way. And he probably still, well, I don't know if he'd still be alive.
His
I don't
ego
know how old he was at the time, but
his ego got the best of him. And he said, "I've got an ego just as big as Jim Jones does. So, hey, let's go down there and get some free camera time off stuff."
Yeah. Well, that's what happens if you match ego to ego in a situation where they were in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, something bad's going to happen. You know, you throw it up on the table. Somebody's going to be big.
You're going, because you're going to a situation that's unknown to you. You don't know if those people have turned into a bunch of feral savages by now. You know?
Yeah. That was a crazy situation. A perfect storm, really. And because of that senator going there and creating that mess, Jones used that to say, well, now that they're dead, they're going to all come and get us. We're all going to die. So we might as well. Yeah. We might as well do that. Revolutionary suicide is what they called it.
Yeah, you're correct on that, because he actually told them because of what we had to do, that they would all come after them. And you're right, he said that because they got taped to him saying that now they're going to come after all of us. Yeah. So this is what we got to do.
Yeah, we're not going to let him take us alive. Basically, is what he.
That was it. He said, "I will let every man, woman, and child in this place die before this gets taken over."
Yeah. But that's the thing is they would practice for this day.
Yeah.
They knew this day was coming. They said, this is potentially is what's going to happen because of what we believe. They're all going to come after us and we can't let them take us alive. Revolutionary suicide. And they would practice. They would have practice days. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. The day has come. In Blaine, I tell you, a cult like that, the revenue that they had, they were bringing all kinds of stuff in. They were bringing in mass loads of, all these drugs.
It wasn't hard, dude, because Guyana was a drug route anyway.
Yeah.
They were just picking up directly from the drug runners in Guyana.
Yeah. But even the whole time when they were practicing suicide, do you know that Jim Jones pretended that he had a business for jewelry?
Really?
That's how he was able to get loads of cyanide in, because cyanide was able to clean jewelry. It was a byproduct of it. That's how he was able to get his hands on loads of cyanide for cleaning jewelry that they were doing for a business. So it was a business front. He already knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
The time was going to come. He was just waiting for it to come. And the practice and all that, he knew the day would come and he was prepared for it. And the day had come, my friends, and we were talking about this earlier. You have all this money stored. You think you could do better for your people?
Yeah.
Tell them what they did, Blaine. Tell them how they poisoned them.
This cheap bastard wouldn't even spend 5 cents to buy actual Kool-Aid. We'd have the killer Kool-Aid. No, this cheap bastard gets the fatal flavor aid that was 2 cents a bag. He bought the cheapest shit he could buy.
Yeah.
To kill these people. And what I hate about this, they made the adults give it to their children first.
Yeah.
As a parent, how could you do that?
That's the control. That's the control. And the ones that didn't want to do it, they were hit with syringes of it.
Yes.
Yeah, directly.
I'm trying to figure out how many of them survived that did survive.
Yeah.
Unless they ran when they were doing the whole, fatal flavor aid shit.
Yeah.
If they didn't take off running.
Yeah.
Because I think there was like maybe 20 to 22 alive when the people finally showed up there. And the first thing they see is the senator Ed and his whole camera crew and everybody. And then the whole, about 900, almost 900 of them, all just laid out dead.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Anybody that ran were shot. The perimeter guys with the guns were the last ones to take the flavor aid. Idiots. But the thing is some of the people that survived weren't there at the time. They were spread out. Jim Jones, 3 of his kids, his sons, were not part of that. They weren't there at the time. They survived. I don't know what they were doing at the time, why they weren't there, but that's part of it. And some of the people on the tarmac, they did survive to tell about the horror of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know,
See,
there's
this is
video
what I
footage
think.
of what happened, of course, on the tarmac. They were filming while gunshots are going off.
Yeah, they got the
Jim-
whole thing on film.
Yeah,
And the
Jim
last shot
Jones.
you see,
Yeah.
there's a cameraman actually falling after getting shot.
Yeah. So just a crazy, crazy thing. But you think about it. This kid grows up the way he grew up, the influences that he had, the education that he had, whatever influences he had in that. Getting to this point, and then getting to the point that we are in Guyana, and all this stuff is going on.
Yeah.
It's amazing how this guy's path brought him to that, to mass murder 900 people. It's one of the biggest mass murders in Guyana. I think it was a British territory, I think, but
I think
yeah.
Yeah.
But because most of those people were American citizens, it's the biggest mass killing of American citizens to date. So, yeah.
So the temple gunmen and ambushed them at the airport. Killed Congressman Joe Biden. Then Don Harris, an NBC reporter. Bob Brown, NBC cameraman.
Mhm.
Dave Robinson, a temple defector. A temple defector.
Yeah.
And then one more survived.
This is what I think too, y'all. It's the ones that were on the outside as the gunmen, not the ones that shoot the congressmen in them, but the ones that were shooting people that try to run when they were drinking the Flavor Aid.
Yeah.
I think some of them said, "The hell with this," he said. I'll drink it, but then I'll act like I survived this shit. That's what I'm wondering. Some of them did.
If it were me and I was there and I had to drink the Flavor Aid, you know what I would have done? I would have pretended I was drinking it.
They'd have been like,
And pretend I like fuck, you know, just see what everybody else was doing with their bodies, and just that would have been a way to get out of it.
but did it be like one of these?
I wonder if anybody did that.
Dude,
I
they
don't know. It
had
didn't
to.
say anything. Pretend to drink it and pretend to die.
Hey, when they wasn't looking, I've been acting like I was drinking it. Over my shoulder, gone.
Yeah. How are you going to keep an eye on 900 people?
You're not.
No. So, I don't know. Well, Jim Jones the whole time was talking on the megaphone, and
Yeah, it
it all
was.
picked up on video. And the thing is after they're all laid dead, he never drank the Flavor Aid. He just shot himself in the head.
Sure did.
Yep.
The old one to the temple.
Yeah. He did it. He wanted to, I think the reason why is because his idol was Hitler.
Yeah.
Hitler supposedly shot himself in the head, committed suicide before, you know,
He
the
went to
troops
Argentina?
could get him. So yeah.
Before he went to Argentina?
Yeah, before he escaped in a U-boat or whatever to Argentina, whatever the hell. So
No,
Lot
this
of
is
theories.
actually that Hitler was in Argentina.
yeah, and Elvis Presley's still alive too.
No, this is the fact though about Hitler.
You know, Jim Jones had the Elvis Presley style hair going on near the end there. So
It almost had Elvis glasses, but they were too dark.
yeah, yeah. But he had the black, you know, the hair, that style at the time. Yeah,
Elvis thought he was an actual nut. So
yeah. Well, Elvis, you know, Jim Jones took drugs like Elvis. So, you know,
yeah,
good thing he shot himself in the head,
Well,
because sooner or later, all the drugs he was taking, he'd probably die on the crapper too.
no shit.
I'm
I
so
wish I could have been a fly on the wall when he shot himself in the head.
yeah,
That would have been great to watch his spirit leave his body. And watch
yeah.
whatever
You know,
evil forces just grab that spirit and go on with it.
I'm wondering if we ever got the chance to go to where that all happened. I wonder how much energy would be there.
Dude,
What if energy's
it'd be all
trapped
over
in
the
that
place.
area?
It would be all over the place.
Yeah,
Because you would have the anxiety, you'd have the fear, you'd have the lack of hope.
that place has to be so supernaturally charged.
Dude,
That's what they say. They say it's so bad.
You probably just feel pure evil in that place.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd actually now I might have to put that on my top 10 bucket list for places to go. And if there's spirits trapped there, shit, I'd love to go to help them move on.
Dude, there's at least 840 something of them.
Yeah. If any of them are trapped, to help them get through that, to be able to make that transition.
Could you imagine having to live that spiritual life over and over again with all you do?
Oh my God.
Every day you see the sensor shot, then you watch your children die.
Yeah.
Then you die yourself and have to relive that event over and over and over.
Yeah.
And over
Oh my
again.
God. That has got to be the worst. That's hell.
Dude, it is.
They're living their hell over and over again. If those spirits are still trapped there,
dude, I can guarantee they are.
Yeah, but shit, I think it's like a mission to go there and just help them move on. We're talking about this tonight.
Imagine facing your children.
Yeah.
God, can you imagine how we'd have to four corner that place just to move the stuff to the middle?
You know how many people we would need?
Dude.
You know how many people we would need to do
a lot.
Four-corner calling at that place?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. You would have to be in like certain areas. Yeah, look at that. Unbelievable.
I forget how many
bodies laying.
Didn't he have like over 50 acres there?
Yeah.
God,
my heart hurts. I know this happened years ago.
Yeah.
But, my heart still hurts for those people, those souls. Yeah, there's a lot of them are still trapped there.
They were looking for salvation.
Yeah.
And a purpose. And this thing turned into just a total shit show.
I guarantee that the most souls that are trapped there are probably the children.
Yes, they are.
But the parents, because of that guilt, having to take their children out before they kill themselves. Dude, I don't care how indoctrinated you are, you still love your children. Now. Yeah.
I mean, it's strong right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the taste got such a taste in my mouth.
You too.
I know, but the thing is when we do this show, it happens a lot. We talk about this, we give it, I don't know, we're giving it power, we're reactivating it, and then all of a sudden we all start feeling it again. We're feeling like those people.
I feel the uncertainty of the children's like looking at your mom and dad. They're supposed to be there to protect you.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are killing you because idiot.
Somebody told them to.
Yeah. That's why I have a problem with organized religion.
Yeah.
It's because it's ran by people. Now, if you say you're spiritual, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I love being the spiritualist. I hate being a member of something run by humans.
Well, that's the thing is, as a spiritual, you're on your own journey.
Yeah.
You're trying to find who you are and what your calling is and what your purpose is. There's nobody else but yourself that you have to stare at in the mirror.
Exactly.
If somebody else is trying to indoctrinate and tell you you have to do this to have salvation, I don't know. I personally have a problem with that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because who's to say that your method is the correct method, or it's just something that you believe and want to force that belief on me?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want my own spiritual journey. I don't want to be controlled.
Yeah. But people have their choice. Everybody has their choice to practice the way they want. I'm never going to tell people what we're saying on this show is the way you should feel.
No.
But this is the way I feel. This is the way Blaine feels. This is the way Lee feels. And this is the way Gwen feels about their certain things. I'm never going to tell you should believe differently.
No, I fought for this country. You have whatever religion you want to have.
Yeah.
And I don't deny you that. Hey, I might not agree with yours, but hey, you do you, right?
Yeah.
But you want to see who survived? We were talking about who we thought survived. You want to see?
Right.
Yeah.
She's got it.
Wow.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah,
Damn it.
Damn it. Children.
So some of the elderly from
Yeah.
Diana, the temple staff just wouldn't give it to them. Or they just,
Wow.
they said, well, they're not going to participate. Or they thought they gave it to them and they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, you got over almost 800 something people to give that shit to.
All right,
Yeah,
so we've
the
got
woman there
Becky.
that was the aide, Leo Ryan's aide. She ended up rising to power as a congresswoman and all that. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, here's
Wow.
another one. There were about 12 people that ran into the jungle, like Blaine said.
Yeah.
They used the chaos to get out.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
because
What I'd have used.
you only have so many people if they're all running.
Yeah.
You only have so many people that are on the perimeter with weapons to shoot, and if you run after them, you leave your post,
Yep.
more people could escape. So that's why they didn't run after them. So if you got out and you didn't get shot, yeah, I guess you escaped.
And the old thing, dude, running the damn zigzag.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're running away from an alligator.
And last but not least, here we go.
Yep.
His adopted son was in Guyana.
Yep.
There were logistic people or banking people that were in Guyana. And then the Jonestown basketball team.
Yeah.
They had a game against Jonestown.
That's it. That's where his 3 sons were at. That's why they weren't part of it.
So they
Yeah,
had
adopted son,
basketball.
2
All
other
right.
kids. Yeah.
Go figure.
But when
It
you're a
was-
cult
it was
leader, a lot of
Jonestown
cult
cult
leaders, they have a lot
played,
of children with other people there. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
But
all
it-
echoing.
It's such a trap. Christina, all of us have been aggravating. It's aggravating me also.
Yeah.
I know it. We've been trying to fix it. It just won't.
I've went out like 3 times. Wynn's went out several times. We can't figure out where the echo's coming from. I apologize for that. It's very not a good show for us to do that. And
Yeah.
believe me, I'm irritated about it.
I don't
We're
know.
gonna find on the aid.
I'm not hearing the echo on my side, but
You're the only one that's not echoing.
it's weird. I don't know if people are
I know.
hearing the echo. I don't hear it from where I am.
Oh God, we do.
I don't know. Maybe Jim Jones doesn't want us to talk about his BS. So I don't know. He's messing with us.
Probably.
Christina thought it was her computer. Hey,
Sorry, Christine.
I'm not echoing.
Yeah, you are.
Oh well.
Rat farts. Oh no, rat
Next
farts, huh?
week, what do we do next week?
Yes. What are we doing?
I think it's Dr. Death, right?
Dr. Death T. Williams?
Oh, Dr. Death over in England. What is his name? Oh my God, I can't think of it.
I don't know too many British. It's something I have to look up.
Harold Shipman.
Yeah, Harold Shipman. Yeah, Harold
Yeah,
Shipman.
Shipman. Okay.
He is.
Yeah.
He was a doctor, and I think he was responsible for actually up to 300 deaths. So making him the most prolific serial killer in the history of serial killers. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really on the Waco. That should have never happened. The government should have left them alone. They should have had all the weapons they wanted to. But
Yeah. But I do have another one I want us to do a story about, and I'll tell you guys about it when we come off and we're in the back room. I don't want everybody to know yet, so we want to keep it a surprise.
It's a surprise.
well, let's
Yeah.
get us out of here. This echo chamber is driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got this one next week.
Yeah.
There you go.
Don't forget, this weekend, the Paracon.
www.paracon.org. Get your tickets in advance. They're a little less. I know there's a charge. There's a surcharge to get them online, but it's still less than if you're at the door. It's $25 at the door. $19.99 plus a surcharge is less than $25. Get them in advance. There are a few tickets left for the ghost hunt with John Zappis, the dinner with Butch Patrick at the same time. Of course, you get the ghost hunt with The Godfather, myself, Charles Rosenet, Lee Triana Brown, of course, and of course my buddy, my partner in crime, my business partner, Stacia Wills. So we have 3 shamans helping out John Zappis for the night. And Butch Patrick, after eating, might join us on the ghost hunt. So that might be cool, having a ghost hunt with Eddie Munster. So that would be kind of cool. So make sure you join us. There's a few tickets left. CTParacon, 2 N's, @gmail.com. Email us your interest, and we'll send you all the stuff that you need. That way it's a little separate from the Paracon, so it's not on the ticket site. It's a separate event. It's an after event that we want you to have fun all weekend. But make sure you get tickets for Saturday and also the ghost hunt Saturday night and Sunday, because every Saturday and Sunday have different speakers every day. So you're going to get something new. So it's going to be a different experience, all 3 different events. So make sure you join us all weekend. Keep you busy. And so
I'll be there on Blink Cam.
Exactly.
Yes,
the Blink Cam. It's called the Leg of Joe Cam. And,
Leg of Joe Cam.
But no, if you come to Connecticut, it's, I swear to God, it's one of the most haunted states in the country. You know, being in New England, the war that happened here, the Indian massacre, yeah, just anything you could think of. There's so much going on. It's going to be great. And we are almost sold out. I just got a flash that Charles just sent me that we are about 2 or 3, I think, wait, 5 tickets left.
Well, you got
Maria
Russell asking for
5 tickets left before we reach the sellout. So
will y'all make sure you get Miss Maria, because she just sent a note that she wants 2 tickets for the dinner and the ghost hunt.
Yeah, tell her to make sure. She's got an email right away, ctparacon, 2 N's, @gmail.com. And that way you'll be able to join us. Charles will send you all the particulars, how to make sure you garner your ticket with you know, what you have to pay. It's only $125. I know it's, some people, it sounds like a lot, but you think about it, there's other things that are a lot more money, but who's to say a once in a lifetime dinner with Butch Patrick, a ghost hunt with John Zappis, the godfather of the paranormal, the nephew of the Warrens, the history that this guy has over 50 some odd years in the paranormal, the things that you can learn. And we're ghost hunting at an Elks Lodge that's never been investigated before. So who the heck knows what's going to happen? We're going to live at the seat of our pants on this ghost hunt. Nice. And having Lee there and Stacia and myself and having 3 shamans be able to pick up on what's going on, it's going to be an experience, and don't miss it. But also don't miss all the speakers, everything they could tell you, all the vendors that are going to be there Saturday and Sunday, the 12th and the 13th, right in Waterbury, Connecticut at Crosby High School. I know it's been hot out, but Crosby High School Gymnasium is air conditioned. We're going to have food trucks outside. We're going to have some barbecue. We're going to have some desserts. But also we're going to have Painted Owls. They're a band out of Texas. They have a hit song called Grim Life. So we have a big name band that's going to be there playing out in the parking lot for you guys. We have everything that you could think of. We have a tattoo artist that's going to be there.
Oh,
so you could come and get a tattoo while you're listening to John Zappis talk about demons. So why not? What the hell?
You can go wave at me on the Leg of Joe Cam.
Yeah, well, the Leg of Joe Cam is going to be the biggest thing of the weekend right there, man. So, yep. But I don't know. I'm off my soapbox now. I don't know what else to do. We've advertised, but just so you guys know, the final advertisement Charles and I are going to do is we are on NBC News on Thursday in our local area to promote Paracon.
Cool.
Butch Patrick did a major interview today for us. John Zappis has one during the middle of the week. And then Charles and I are going to set it off on Thursday on NBC News. I tell you, all the vendors that are watching, everybody that's watching, we have advertised the you-know-what out of this. And I'm hoping we get a good turnout. You know, across the board, a lot of these events have been crazy this year. I know there's a lot going on in our world, but buy the ticket, $20, and you'll have the experience of a lifetime, because I guarantee you, Charles and I do everything that we can for you to have a great time. And the people that are there are going to give you a great time. You get to meet somebody like Lee Triana Brown. You know, you get to meet Gwen Johns, you know, you'll get to see the Leg of Joe cam. You know, that's what it is.
Like a Joe.
Yeah, Eddie
Leg of
Munster,
Joe
for crying out
cam.
loud. John
Yeah.
Zappis, the godfather of the paranormal. There's so many like you see down here on my www.paracon.org. We got over 30 people that are well versed in the paranormal and true crime. It's going to be unbelievable. You know what else? You know what other big guest is coming? The Jeffrey Dahmer Fork is going to be there. So make sure you come and visit the Jeffrey Dahmer Fork with the Radicals. You know, that's going to be a big one right there in display in box that you could look at, take a picture of. Maybe if you're nice and you know you want to, maybe they'll let you hold on to it, see what you pick up on it. Here it is, Jeffrey Dahmer Fork. Yeah, you got to have that Paranormal and True Crime Festival, Paranormal Paracon #5, the Cinco.
I will not.
Paracon the Cinco this year. So hashtag Paracon the Cinco, and we're going at it. So, yep, there you go. I'm so excited to see everybody. I'm so excited that everybody watched tonight. Hopefully, what we talked about tonight helped you to see things a little differently, to stay away from that type of mentality of what Jim Jones was. You know, and again, all the best wishes, Blaine, my buddy.
Thank you, boss.
I know what you're going through, and we are all here for you. And we got you. And Leg of Joe will always be the thing that keeps us all going.
Yep. I can't wait to be on Leg of Joe cam. That's gonna be fun.
Leg of Joe cam.
That is fun.
We're gonna figure it all out.
I'll bring one of my TVs.
Yeah, bring it. Yeah, let's. We got to get the Leg of Joe cam going. We'll figure it all out.
Yep.
We'll make it happen. No matter what the heck we have to do, we'll move mountains.
We are going to, absolutely.
We'll kick midgets in the nutsack just to make sure it happens. So, I had to say that. I had to say that. I got to say something weird.
It's getting deep. We need to get offline.
Yes,
We do.
All right, off we go.
We have to go off
right
because
there,
I
you
said
don't know.
kicking midgets in the nutsack.
That was
No,
a
no,
hashtag
no.
tonight, wasn't it? Kick midgets in the nuts.
Yes. Hashtag kick midgets in the nuts.
Oh, Lord.
The Lollipop Guild, right in the nuts.
Really.
Lollipop
The
Guild.
Deep Nuts Guild.
There you go, Dorothy.
He's nuts.
Oh, don't forget, before we leave, make sure you buy your butt crack voodoo dolls from Lee. So,
You do. Voodoo.
Don't
butt
forget.
crack.
who do voodoo butt crack dolls?
You do voodoo doll. Butt
Yeah.
crack.
Those are gonna
Why
be
is it
huge.
not going?
I don't know.
Oh, you want me to end it? I can end it.
End it.
No, I'm trying to
think-
hit a.
I think it still
Hashtag
wants me to
that.
say funny stuff. So, yeah.
Well, it's gonna have to go. So I can't get any more hashtags to come up.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, guys, let's get off here.
Now it goes.
Bye, everybody.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
good night.
I can't wait for this weekend. Oh my God, it's gonna be
I know.
crazy. So we got some stuff.
That's only more.
It's gonna be
You guys
great.
gotta be there. If you're